Hello, Humans and Extraterrestrials. Today I am finally going to be talking to you about the Infernal Devices trilogy. I finished it, hell yeah. These books mean a lot to me. All of Cassie Clare's books mean a lot to me, but these ones are maybe my favourite. So far we're going to put them there because I don't want to have to wave 3 books around for the entirety of this, but I was going to try and talk about these books individually, but I realised that I really struggle to because I read them first in such quick succession. I truly struggle to differentiate what happened when. Like, there's certain plot points that I know they happened, but like I don't remember which book, like it's just, yeah. So I just thought I would talk about the entire series as a whole. My non-spoiler thoughts were basically, I loved them all, I gave them all 5 stars, I thought they were all fantastic, basically are my non-spoiler thoughts. I had very little critiques and I enjoyed the vast majority of these books, or the vast majority of everything in each individual book, because as a whole the books are fantastic. But I have a little thing here that I have information. I have little plot points to go through here, because if I am just let speak about these books, it is not coherent in any way, shape or form whatsoever. So we're going to start. I'm going to give you a critique first because it's good to get out of the way, but I'm going to explain it well. So my critique is mostly that I am so fed up of, I need to hold one, I feel weird not holding one. My main critique is that I'm so fed up with love triangles. Like, truly, they astound me. But, well, firstly, these books came out many years ago. When was the original book released? Saying that, I don't know that it was that long ago. It seems to be, yeah, 2010. So it's peak YA, like, Edward Jacob. It's during all that. But obviously, because of who these characters are and because of the role they play, okay, obviously now spoilers, by the way, the role that these characters, that Will and Jem play in Tessa's life and that Tessa plays in theirs, it's different, but you don't really, it's kind of hard to see that till the end, I think. And either that or I'm just a dumb, but I went into these books knowing that Will was I knew she ended up marrying and having children with Will, that Tessa did, but I didn't realise what happened after that, because obviously she's a kind of warlock, but it's really interesting the way it all plays out, and it's something that I didn't really realise that it would work like that until the end. And then when I saw the epilogue, which I'm going to talk about on its own, because it just all kind of clicked in my head. So yeah, there's that. And I'm going to go through, that's kind of my only real critique, but it's not really a critique, it's just she subverted those expectations well, but it felt a little, obviously I know that's how the plot plays out, but it felt like we kind of figured that out a little too late, that the whole, because it was Will and Jem, it didn't feel jealous or cheaty or whatever. I feel like that isn't as, obviously it's not meant to be clear from the start, but it feels like it should be clear earlier, and that's just a personal thing. I hate having everything sprung on at the end. I like to have things put in the way through, but even still, fantastic. So first I'm going to talk about characters. Tessa. Tessa is a character in this book novel that I just love Tessa so much. She's badass, she's cool, I don't know how to describe her. I just love her. I think she's such a cool character, and she's struggling so much with her identity and with the trauma of stuff with her brother throughout these books, that it's just seeing her go through that and still come out standing strong is it's inspiring. Obviously she's not real. I know she's not real, but like it's inspiring to see that and think, you know what, if Tessa Gray did this, Tessa Gray is a badass, you know, like if she can do this, so can, like, it's that kind of thing where I just love this character so much, and I think she's such a badass, strong ass woman, and she's just cool, man. So yeah, there's Tessa. I feel like my thoughts are very similar to everyone in the fandom in that I just love her so much. I also I kept forgetting while reading this book that she's an American. Like I guess she's a New Yorker, but it's, you know, 1800s, 1700s, whatever year it is. New Yorker, so it's not quite the same thing. Wait, I think 1700s. I'm not a dumbass, am I? $1800s, 1878. Stupid. It's obviously, you know, hundreds of years ago, but she's still an American, and it's so weird because it doesn't feel like that. Like, I feel like that isn't shown a lot, and honestly, I'm fine with that. I enjoyed the heritage and past of all the other characters so much, and the American stuff I'm slightly less interested in. It's not like a personal blight, I don't know. I found the Welsh backgrounds and Jem's background to just be so much more interesting. I don't know. That might just be me. But yeah, but Tessa's a badass, and struggling through that, finding out about her brother basically betraying her and the trauma that the Dark Sisters put upon her, and still being a badass mofo is bloody phenomenal. Well done, Tessa Gray, you are awesome. You know, like she's such a cool character, and I love her. Anyway, I could talk in circles about Tessa for forever, but Will, speaking of characters that I could talk about, I love Will so much. I care so much about Will as a character. When I read this book, when I read Clockwork Angel, I hated him. I truly hated him. I was so annoyed because he's written that way, because he's not a nice character, and he just got on my nerves so much, especially in this first book, when you find out like the curse and about all that. Obviously it all makes far more sense, and it's like, you know, you feel for him, but in the first book he's a dick. But even in the little glimpses you got when he was with Jem, and he was like all the little snarky comments that were funny, and you just respect him, you just like him. And like the demon pox stuff, that was so funny. But when he's just like the little snippets you got before we knew about what was going on with Jem with Will and the whole situation, is just, it's just wonderful to see him as a human. And then when you find out that, oh, he's been cursed, well, you know, whatever, and he has this thing where anyone who he loves will die, which is a very, when I think about it, a very stereotypical trope. That's such like a YA trope, but you know what, I don't care. I can like my classic YA tropes, alright? I just felt for him so much, and I feel like reading this book and reading the series after knowing everything would just break me a lot. Like, I feel like it would just, because there's the first kiss in this book, the kiss when they're in, I think, the attic or whatever it is, and he's like having to drink the holy water and everything. That scene, like, at the first was like, oh, finally, and then it really annoyed me. But reading it again, I can imagine how much it would affect me, because I care about Will so much as a character, and about his well-being, and about how he just deserves far more than he got. He got a shit hand in life, if we're being honest. He deserved a lot better. And I just truly really care about him. Moving on to Jem. Jem, the light of my life. I love Jem so much. I love all these characters. There's a few I care about slightly less, but I love all these characters. And if I don't mention one, it's not because I don't care, it's because I have slightly less to say. For example, I'm not going to talk a great deal about Cecily because I just think she's a badass, cool little kid. And I think she's awesome, but that's like it. But yeah, Jem has always been such a kind soul. Like, how, I don't understand how someone can go through his addiction and through the amount of having to deal with Will Herondale, frankly, and all of this shit with the addiction and about having to get that and still come out and just be a lovely human being. Like, I don't know how, obviously he's fictional, but I don't understand. I don't know that I could do that. And I think he just has a stronger character than I do, maybe, but he's just such a lovely human being, and he always cared about Will even without knowing. And it's heartwarming to see a human being just be, well, I guess technically, to see a person just be so, just through and through good, and there's no exception to that. He's just a good person. When Jem came back in Clockwork Princess, and he was, well, sorry, Jem didn't come back, Brother Zachariah came back. That is such a bittersweet, I guess, couple of scenes, because you know, especially, obviously, some people read this series without having read any of the others first, and how a person can do that, I do not know, because knowing about Silent Brothers is so integral to Brother Zachariah's character and how much it affects you, because if you understand it, then when you see that's happened, you kind of just, like, it's because it's not the same. Obviously it's not the same, and obviously he's different, and again the epilogue shows that, but seeing him turn, knowing he's a silent brother, knowing he can't be the same person that he once was, or at least not for a little while, is so painful to read. And just to know that he can't be with his family and the people he loves like he could before, is just devastating. And I think, you know what, no, I'm going to talk about it now because I want to. I think that is why the epilogue in this book meant so much to me, I think, because it just, well, firstly, there's a lot in this epilogue. A lot of stuff happens in the epilogue of this book, but in particular the scene on the bridge, like the actual, obviously there's cutting through it, but when they're actually on the bridge and Jem comes through, and it's Jem, and it's not Brother Zachariah anymore, and it's Jem. That scene shook me to my core and broke me, because oh my god, can you imagine? It's so emotional, and it's such a holy shit moment, because you read it and you go, wait, so he's, and then and that scene in particular, my feelings about Jem, I just love Jem so much. Like, even when I also felt so conflicted throughout this book, and I think that's kind of the point, is that you're not supposed to just root for Will or Jem in, like, the love triangle situation. You're supposed to like them both, and Cassandra Clare did such a good job of firstly showing Tessa's conflicting emotions, because whenever she was with Will, she was thinking about Jem, and whenever she was with Jem, she was thinking about Will, you know, all that. Slightly more on the thinking about Will side, but it was still, you know, and all the scenes with Jem, like the near sex scene with Jem where she knocks over his drugs, which is so funny, by the way, I love that that's how that happened. Like, it didn't really occur to me how silly that was until I watched someone vlogging themselves reading these books, that it's so silly. But that scene, you can understand, I don't know how to explain this without sounding really personally crude, but like, you can understand where she's coming from, and you understand why she like obviously she cares for this man too, because he is wonderful, clearly showing this, and her talking about how people say that illness makes you more beautiful, and I just care a lot, and it means a lot. Reading all the scenes with Jem, knowing how it. The thing is, I knew that Will was endgame, but I didn't know that Jem comes back. So reading those scenes, thinking that they wouldn't ever be together again, was truly so conflicting, because I wanted to be able to root for them, because I was rooting for them, really. I just wanted them all to be happy, but I didn't. In my head I was like, no, you can't, because they're not going to end up together. And it's just such a conflict. This whole series is such a gosh darn conflict. Anyway, I went on a huge tangent there. Let's talk about Charlotte and Henry. Charlotte and Henry Bramwell. My people. They are characters that I feel like are not, and it might just be me, I don't think they're talked about often enough. They're such cool people, even from the start. At the start, people talked about Henry and about how he was like, oh, he doesn't actually love his wife and he's just a deluded whatever. Like, I loved him then. I love him even more now. The scene that happened in, I think it's the second book. See, proving my point. There was a scene that happened in one of the books. And again, I believe it was the second one, because I think it was after the stuff with Will, maybe, where Charlotte and Henry were talking to each other, and they were like, I thought you didn't love me. I thought you didn't love me, but I do love you, but I do love you. Like, that scene, that just warmed my heart so much, because you know how much, the fact that anyone could actually look at Henry and think he did not love his wife more than anyone else in the entire universe is absurd, because he loves Charlotte so much, and it's so abundant, and it's wonderful to just see happiness. People being happy and in love is great. In YA, that's rare, but it's like, in fantasy YA and dystopian YA, and YA that isn't boring and contemporary, it's rare, and I love it. Okay, yeah. I love Charlotte and Bramwell as a couple, but I also think Charlotte is just such a badass woman, and she won't take that shit from Consul Wayland, who's just a sexist, mean guy who just doesn't understand that women can be strong and cool too. Yeah, go. And Henry just being like a little himbo dork who just loves his, well, he's not himbo because he's smart, but you know, not socially. With him just being like loving his inventions and just getting through that and figuring out the portal stuff with Magnus is just a good thing. It's just phenomenal. So yes, they are my thoughts on those two. Now for the last specific character I'm going to talk about is going to be, you guessed it, my boy Magnus Bane. I don't know why I keep raising my eyebrows like that. Magnus Bane is he might be my favourite fictional character of all time. He's certainly up there. Saying that, there are a few other Shadowhunter characters. For example, him and Simon are on like pretty level ground, but I love Magnus so much. I really enjoy Magnus as a side character. I don't know, I just love the whole thing of him like always getting pulled into other Shadowhunters shit, you know? Like, it's just such a fun dynamic, and he just keeps going anyway because he's Magnus, and you know, like, he knows they need him because he's fantastic and he's fabulous, and he's aware of that they need him. Is just great. Like, there's so many. The scene at the end, the scene in Clockwork Princess where Tessa and Will, okay, no, I need to talk about this actually. Tessa and Will literally are like about to die, and Will meets Tessa and he's like, hey, my brother's dead, we can have sex now. Like, what? I mean, like, it was well done, and like, I get it. It's like, oh, we better get this over with because it's the last thing we're going to be able to do and we've wanted it for so long. Like, I get that, but also, like, you're not going to mourn like he just died. I get that it's not like that because it's Jem and Will, but that's just so funny to me that, like, he never ever thought to be like, hey, maybe we should wait until after we're not trying to be killed by a robot army. Just a suggestion, you know, like, I mean, but anyway, within that scene, when Magnus came in, was, he is just the comic relief we need in this series, because it gets awfully sad otherwise. Like, this series balances emotions so well, and I genuinely think a huge proportion of that is Magnus's comic relief. Magnus is just such, and this isn't, again, obviously it's not exclusive to this series because he's in, you know, the Mortal Instruments and also the show, which I watched, and I know I'm a Shadowhunters fan and I enjoyed the show crazy, right? But I really enjoyed the show. I don't really care what anyone else says. To me, it's a different thing. But Magnus Bane is just such a good character. He's so funny, and he's so outwardly sure of himself, obviously, because, you know, the whole thing with his mum, like, you know, that whole, he has insecurities and he has issues with his father and with various other things, but he's just outwardly such a badass. He's just badass and cool and so openly attracted to men. Oh my god, the amount of references to him being into men in these books is, like, it's not even like a lot. It's not like it's every 3 seconds. It's like maybe 3 or 4 times in the books. But that is more than I have ever seen in a historical fiction novel in my entire life. Like, him just saying that out to, I think, maybe one of the vampires, or no, he was talking to Tessa, I think, in one of the books. He was talking to one of the Shadowhunters or Tessa, and something about men and something about, like, about liking some of the warlocks or some of the vampires or something. And it's just like, I love him. And there's also, I think I mentioned this maybe, I either mentioned this in a reading vlog or in a wrap-up, I don't remember which, but there's a line in, I think, the first or second book, I don't remember which, but it's, I guess I'm gonna say a callback, it's not really a callback, it's a reference to well, it's a reference to his personality, because that's how he is throughout the entire series, but it just makes me think of Alec, which is like, oh, I always had a thing for blue-eyed, black-haired, pretty boys or something, and it's like, he always had a thing for blue eyes, and it just makes me think of Alec, because Alec is literally exactly his type. And it just love this series so much, man. But I love Magnus. I think he's badass and funny and well, no, he's bisexual. He's bisexual. Anyone raising that? Fuck off. Camille was in this book for a reason. And the way he stood up to Camille, honestly, fucking well done. Honestly, she deserved it. She deserved more than that. He should have just gotten rid of her there and then, so she didn't have to return in Mortal Instruments, but he just was a badass, and I loved it. As always, I love this universe. I love the Shadowhunter universe. I love the way magic works. I think it's so interesting, and it's like it's not complicated. Well, I mean, who knows, and maybe in Cassandra Clare's head it's super complicated, but like, there's maybe stuff we still don't know, but it's not like there's kind of rules, but like, and they're easy to understand, but it's still complex. I don't know, I just really enjoy the way the magic system works, and the way that it's like kind of races, but and there has been past prejudice, but obviously not so much in this book, but in the Mortal Instruments and in not the Last Hours, in the whatever the newer ones with the Blackthorns are, in those ones, it's like, it's just, but that's being overcome thanks to Alec the Icon, and it's being made better, and I really just, am glad that there's actually story within that, and it's not just like, hey, let's be mean to these people. Like, there's actual progress going on. Anyway, I also really liked the Magister / Mortmain as a villain. I thought he was really interesting. And I don't know if it's just because I'm stupid and I cannot tell plot twists a mile away, because I'm really not great with that, if we're being honest. But him turning out to not be De Quincey, is that what the vampire's called? It was like 2 books ago, I don't remember. But that he wasn't a vampire and he ended up being Mortmain is so... I might just be dumb, but I never saw it at all. A Milo would have been like, yeah, like, because he was a human and there was nothing about him you would have realised, but it wasn't a twist that was in there for, I mean, I guess it was to some extent shock value, but it wasn't like oh, this is just here and it makes no sense, because there was obviously stuff behind it, because Cassandra Clare seems to be like, she kind of has to plan these books. And yeah, like and the way I described it, I've written some things, but you always feel, and this was particularly the stuff with Mortmain turning out to be the villain, and with stuff with her brother and all that, I feel like you feel awfully safe in her plots. Like when her brother was over, you felt like, oh, okay, now we're gonna, like, you feel like you know where it's going, and it's like, oh, he's gonna wake up and they're gonna talk about it, and then she's gonna go and her brother's gonna help her or whatever, and then it just completely is like, hey, no, we're not doing that, but also it makes sense. That's hard to do, because I say that as someone that's like, oh yeah, I've written 700 books and it's a struggle. No, but I do write, and it's difficult to have the plot be surprising without just being like completely out of even your own plan. It's difficult to do, and I think Cassandra Clare is particularly good at that. So they are a lot of my thoughts. But I need to mention, I had something else I wanted to mention in relation to the world. Wait, what am I talking about? What did I want to add? Oh yes. Okay, so I had a final thing about this, which is Cassandra Clare. People talk a lot about how her talking about the same like 5 families, probably more like 10 families or something, in all of her books, and how that's like, oh, that she's just making it easier for herself. I don't think that's true at all. She must have some sort of whack, crazy, like Always Sunny style like plan, like big like murder wall kind of thing for all, like family tree for all this, because oh my god, like how can you keep track? I don't understand how she keeps track of it. I'm sure she definitely does, because there's no way that is just, she can't just wing all this. But like I honestly applaud her for it, because a lot of people are like, oh, it just makes it easier for her, she doesn't have to write new names or whatever. It's like, well, no, because she has to think about where the families relate in terms of other families, and does that change over generations, and like, it's important. It's really important. And I think on that note, that's where we're leaving this. Yeah, I think we're gonna end it there. I probably have other thoughts, but they're leaving me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Talk to me in the comments about the series, if you enjoy it or if you don't, or talk to me about critiques, but please not be in a like, this series sucks way. Like, talk to me constructively about it, because I'm interested in your thoughts. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you know what to do. Please remember to drink your water, eat your vegetables, and peace out, I guess.